Hi guys, this is Wendy. Today I'm gonna share my current progress of my major project definition. My current research question is by looking at Chinese culture, philosophy, rituals, and culture-based metaphors and emotional objects. How can I conduct visual research to understand the way emotion show itself in Chinese family?
So about this project, the starting point is as a Chinese, I found we are easily to be influenced by the reserved nature of our culture, which cause we usually don't really show our emotion directly through our behavior. So my research focus actually narrowed down through few stages. At the beginning, I just focused on reserved nature of culture, however, this done really specific to Chinese culture. And then I tried to using graphic media as a way to explore it. It's also quite general at that time, but now, so I tried to using a way of archiving to document specific the special moments and some and the memory and story behind emotional objects. Firstly is the review of my research process. At the very beginning, I looked at Chinese philosophy and different cultural examples that show how Chinese express their emotions. I found this philosophy all encourage harmonious society and ask people to control themselves, control their emotion. However, it overlooked that we are all human, we have human nature, that we always need to relieve our emotion. To get more understanding about my topic, I interviewed several people. From the interview, most of them agreed that Chinese people have a habit of hiding their emotions, especially in front of their families and people that they care about. And most of them don't use to express their emotions directly. And they also mentioned that our emotions are usually expressed more through actions, and they believe that actions speak louder than words. My primary research also includes different objects and moments collections. The first one is the living moment. It's the blessing objects that my mom gave me every time when I leave my home. She gave me this blessing object as a company with me, and when I collect them together, I felt they are full of emotion and full of love. Later, I also tried to use letter as a way to show how Chinese people keep their reserved emotion and how they sharing emotion without speaking up. I also continue to use these letters as design materials to continue my visual experiment in the next step. However, when I look back, I found actually letter are really worthwhile methods to express people's emotion, not only just in China. And recently, I collected objects from others, from people around me. This object have same topic, which is object relate to family story, relate to people they care about. But when I gather them, put them together, I have found they are not really consistent as they come from different stories, different families, and the way how people take pictures of them. But here I also found object as a representation of emotion. Some of them are not really easy to let the audience understand the story behind them by just look at the object. If they don't know the story behind these objects and how emotion they contain, they might don't really understand and really can't feel how powerful and how emotional story of these subjects. I also look at how other Chinese people, the living moment of them. In Chinese festival, we usually go back to our hometown to reunite with our family. And after that, we need to go back to our city to work again. Our parents usually and family usually will fill our car truck or our suitcase quite full with different some homemade taste. Although they look really massive in the car truck or in the suitcase, it also shows the messy love and messy emotion that our family members, our parents to us. Also, looking at these pictures, I found car truck as a specific angle, so look at the living moment. It's possible to create a narrative to tell a story about this. And the way we use plastic bag, paper box to put our food, to put our stuff, this cheap material actually contain heavy love. I like this contract and would like to consider them in my future design. As for my visual experiment, firstly I look at some typography poster. I like the blurred effect they use to show their topic, and I found it's quite suitable to express my subtle emotion and subtle emotional expression. So here I use Chinese slang, spread only good news and cover the bad. By doing this, I explore the possibility that typography can be used to show two opposite emotions. However, they can also remain very harmonious in the same position. I also found another reference which show a designer using mapping as a method to explore word, vocabulary, and its significance. I try to draw a relationship and link letters in the family together. However, it doesn't look really obvious. And in my experiment, I didn't see any element related to family or the emotion relationship. I also think about what if we apply actions to the material, what will happen. This was inspired by this reference, the exhibition curated by two Taiwanese designers, Le. This is where the idea of paper plane came from. At that time, I'm thinking my outcome can also be a series of material that curate by people's emotions. We fold paper plane together and then we shoot it out as the process of relief or emotion. I also try to analyze the content of these letters, especially family letters. I like the simplicity and the power of language that it brings, so I try to using this simplicity and combine it with my letter content. For example, curate an exhibition or a program called Home Letter, and then building up the communication and a bridge between parents and children's conversation. I look at a journal called Archiving Culture, which shared the idea about now when we are archiving things, rather than focus on everything, we need to narrow down to a specific line or think about what kind of thing we don't need. Another project called Postgrade, it documents human memory and human trace on their letters and how people open it and reading it. I found how the artists observing people's reading behavior and trace and giving the title to them as an emotional recording is quite interesting, and it connects object itself with the way how people keep them and use them. This project called Catalog is a photographer using photography as her method to document the every object that she has as a way to explore herself and document her ownership relationship between this object and herself. The website called the Museum of Sentimental Taxonomy is using archiving as a way to do the online curation by collecting different objects and stories. I saw this kind of format is actually what I aim to achieve before, but when I went through the website, I felt it kind of less engaging. As when we, as an audience, we're only seeing the pictures of the objects, we can't really feel the emotion power and the story behind them. So I'm thinking rather than just showing the object, presenting where they come from or how I list them, I saw this reference using scanning and putting them in an interactive website as a method of archiving the designer's room archive. And I feel that scanning rather than photograph them, it actually can show every detail of the objects and less being influenced by the light and the environment of the object. So here I'm using scanning to document my wallet objects again. I tried to doing an archiving experiment and trying to see my wallet as a play, a container, a storage room of my emotion. Although now I just use my card holder rather than my big wallet, however, it's still keeping all the tiny things that make me feel secure and being blessed. Reflecting on this experiment, I feel like I can add more elements or like make the archiving objects more animate, make them speak up their stories. So currently I'm thinking about audio and about my preview, my methodology. Currently I already narrowed down my subject and my focus is to some emotional objects and living moments. Next step, I was still trying to using archiving as a way to document these variable moments. I will also keep doing case studies, finding references that relate to my subject. And I also want to interview others again to find out what is their story behind these kind of pictures, these kind of objects. As for my outcome, I think of different possible formats and tools. For example, using interactive website to doing archiving and creating visual system of family stories. Currently, I define my audience is young people in China who are not really good at expressing their emotion to their family members, and also people who want to understand more about Chinese people's emotional expressions. About my schedule, I think from now to June, I will mostly focus on continue testing different directions, conduct interviews to understand the story behind the object, also focusing on the submission of Unit 3. And after Unit 4 start, I will keep materializing my object, my story, and keep doing visual testing. Some reference bibliographic that I read before and probably will continue to read more in the future. Thank you.